Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, folks, are you ready to vote? I bet a lot of you already have. But one of the things that is happening to me is I am getting question after question after question about Proposition 20. And so I wanted to take this show time to kind of explain the pros and cons and why we even have a Proposition 20. Proposition 20 is really designed to clean up three previous bills. That's what this is about. So we're going to talk about it. A yes vote supports the initiative to add the crimes that list nonviolent felonies for which early parole is restricted. A no vote opposes this initiative to add crimes to the list of violent felonies. So what have I just said? Well, we're going to go deep into it during this next hour, so buckle up. This is a hard thing to do on the radio, but I really want you to understand. Now, I have a massive amount of show prep, so I'll probably be wandering around here a bit. I am quoting, this one here is from the Ballotpedia. The ballot initiative was designed to make changes to AB 109, which was passed in 2011, Proposition 47, which was passed in 2014, and then again Proposition 57, which passed in 2016. So what they're trying to do is a legislative action to clean up all the previous legislative action that didn't do all the things they promised you. And in fact, they didn't even do about 10% of what they promised you. One of the challenges to voting anymore, especially with social media, and I often talk about the impact of social media on our lives, but it is harder than heck to get any facts. You'll often hear me say that this generation of young people will have more information provided to them than any generation in the world and in history. However, they're going to have less truth. And when it comes to voting, that is more true than ever. How do you ever get the truth? And I watch this stuff. I watch I watch Fox News, then I go over to CNN or ABC or CBS, and I am absolutely convinced that you believe what you believe based on the channel that you're watching. And they're all talking about the same subject, but you would not recognize it based on the way that it's presented to you. And so I kind of want to give you my opinionated opinion, if you will, a little of the history of these, why we need Proposition 20, in my opinion, especially in the fight of human trafficking. Now, you can vote any way you want to vote. I'm not here to tell you, but I am here to give you my opinion of why I would do what I'm going to do one way or the other. So let's kind of take it back a little bit. AB 109 it was a law that was intended to reform and better protect the public, according to Governor Jerry Brown at the time. And then they went into Proposition 47, which voters approved, which changed several crimes which the measure considered non-serious and non-violent from felonies to misdemeanors. And then it went even further. So what happened is in 2016, former Governor Brown developed Proposition 57, which the voters approved, and it increased parole chances for felons convicted of nonviolent crimes as defined in state law. So I'm going to kind of back off and give you a little bit of what's really going on from my point of view. You can take it with a grain of sand if you want to. But California has a lot of prisoners. And so they either have to build more prisons and do bonds and charge you for it, or they have to find ways to get people out of prison because the Supreme Court has mandated requirements of the number of prisoners you can have in any one facility so that they meet health regulations and safety regulations and things like that. And so it's all out of control. Basically, we had way too many prisoners at the end of 2016 as we had that election. And Jerry Brown came up with Proposition 57, and they slicked it all up and packaged it so everybody voted for it. And basically what happened there is that it said that, we have way too much prison overcrowding. And a lot of these people have rehabilitated, and they're just lovely people now, and that we need to give them a break. Well, you may see a hint of sarcasm there, but I'm not totally against that. I am for rehabilitation. There are many people in the world that get on drugs or get in a bad relationship and they make bad mistakes and they learn from them. And whenever possible, assuming they're not a sex offender, they should, or murder or something like that, that we want to give them a chance to rehabilitate. Let them get out on their own and be productive citizens. And that's how it was all sold to us back in 2016 with all the ads that are going on, just like they're going on right now. And to the average person, that sounded pretty good. Most of us are willing to give a guy a break here or there. And the way it was packaged just sounded like this guy just got a little high on some pot and he went into a 7-Eleven and stole some chewing gum. And now he's doing 3 years when in fact he's now, off the drugs and needs to go home and support his family and his wife and get a job and get back into society. And so it passed. And the way that it was written was that certain nonviolent offenders or nonviolent offenders could get out early. The problem was that nobody really said what a violent offender was. They kind of just left it to that feel good in your soul and your heart kind of thing because they know that people vote with emotion. And that's why they gear all these ads towards emotion, because they know you are not going to take the time to find the text of the proposed law and read what it says. And so you're going to, and quite frankly, I'm in the same boat. I watch this TV. I go, is it a yes on 22? Is it a no on 20? Which one? Is it a yes? And then they write them backwards. So a yes is a no and a no is a yes. And so they're counting on us being uninformed. I'm going to tell you that in my show prep today, I was into the research of this for 3 hours before I could actually find the 51 violent law offenses that are now put into Proposition 20. I could not find it. And I'm an experienced researcher, okay? I spent hours doing this. I've spent years doing it, And it would say one article said that it would add 13 violent offenses, but others said 51. And I'm just going, is it 51 or is it 13? And what are they? And all you get is these generalities. And I'm like, we aren't going to go there again. Million Kids is going to educate the public about how you come upon violent and nonviolent offenses in these laws, because I don't want to go through another Proposition 57. Many of you remember that when we found out how badly we have been duped, Million Kids raised $10,000 and got thousands of signatures and wrote letters to Governor Brown saying, what the heck are you doing? And we absolutely want this changed, as we should have done before we all voted for Proposition 57. But they're very good at making this information difficult to find. So basically, Proposition 20 is a way of cleaning up AB 109, Proposition 47, and 57. And so we are about to come up against a break. If you'll stay with me at the break, what I'm going to do is next section, we'll talk about the history of 57, Proposition 57, and why we need Proposition 20. My name is Opal Singleton. I am the president and CEO of Million Kids, Million, millionkids.org. We are a nonprofit located in the Inland Empire. We have been here for 10 years, 12 years actually. We serve with the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. That is part of the Riverside County Sheriff Department and also the Department of Justice. But we also support the San Bernardino Human Trafficking Task Force. And it is because of that work I want you to hear about Proposition 20. We're up against that break, folks. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Hey, there are many good restaurants in the Inland Empire, but really great restaurants are hard to find. Let me tell you about the Toasted Barrel in Corona. It's a trendy, upscale steakhouse with great pasta and seafood. It's a fantastic choice for birthdays and anniversaries or just that special night out with your loved one and friends. Inland Empire magazine has awarded them Best Restaurant and Brunch for the past 3 years. The owners, Ed and Shirley, are friendly and attentive to your needs. If you're a prime rib connoisseur, this place is for you. Go ahead and try it out. The Toasted Barrel, located at 1300 El Sobrante Road in Corona. Or Google them at Toasted Barrel to make reservations. I guarantee you're going to love it. Be sure and tell Ed and Shirley that Opal sent you. It will be a night you'll never forget.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. I am the host of your show. I'm also the president of Million Kids. If you're interested in supporting a local nonprofit that makes a huge difference to women and children and parents and kids that send naked photos on the internet and they end up, disappearing, and we run Million Kids Missing Kids, and we run those hotlines, and we also run a whole lot of prevention and intervention. We go out, we've trained over 400,000 people now about where naked photos go when you hit send on the internet. In fact, thanks to many of you, we have a documentary and a full-length feature film that will be coming out next spring, and we are just proud as punch to have that. And we're working on it now. It's going to be a dynamite film. It'll be something you'll be proud that you supported. So if you're willing to support a local organization, you can go to Million Kids, MILLION. We're not 1 million. We're not 5 million. We're not a million. It's simply called millionkids.org. Go to millionkids.org, hit that donate button, and I'll love you forever. I promise. We need it. We are swamped in business. Okay, that's enough. Let's talk about the background here. What happened with Proposition 57 was the way it made it sound is that it was only for nonviolent offenses. And if it was one of those feel-good kind of things, and we go, okay, well, let's let them out and give them a break. The problem is we all thought nonviolent meant nonviolent. But it turns out that nonviolent doesn't mean nonviolent. When you're dealing with legislation, you're dealing with the California Penal Code, and nonviolent was defined in the California Penal Code. And as it turned out, there were only 13 violent crimes in the state of California. Now, Governor Brown knew that when he wrote it for you. By the way, so did Kamala Harris know that. But they promoted it anyway. And they wanted you to believe that nonviolent would be nonviolent. But after we got out there, then we found out that, sex with a child is not a violent crime, that assault on a police officer is not a violent crime. Sodomy is not a violent crime. Rape of a dead person was not a violent crime. Rape, spousal rape, or sexual penetration was not a violent crime. Threats to witnesses or victims is not a violent crime. And on and on and on and on. It turned out there were only really 13 violent crimes, but nobody mentioned that to you in all those slick ads to get you to vote on it. Well, once we started to realize that they were letting people out early, and they still are, by the way, in big numbers. I was researching, part of my research is what is the California prison population? And they're saying right now I'm reading this from an article called Public Policy Institute of California. Right now, since 2017, California's institutional prison population has hovered around 115,000 inmates, just below the Supreme Court mandated target of 137.5%. You see, when Governor Brown and Kamala Harris took a look at the population in California, they said, we got to get about 50,000 people out of prison. And there's got to be a way to do that. Otherwise, we've got to build no more prisons, and nobody's willing to fund that. But what they're not counting here, in addition, you talk about juggling the numbers, 13 of the 35 state-owned facilities individually operate beyond their capacity. So that's about a third of them already still going on. About 15% additional inmates are not counted in the institutional population because they're housed in camps or in one of the 8 contract facilities that the state does not own. So what they're saying is there's a lot more than 115,000. And most of those, at least a third of them, do not qualify in the federal mandate. And they're also not counting the ones housed in camps or any of the 8 contracted facilities. So there's a lot more than that. So what happens on here is that I have a chart that I thought was an important thing to read here. Many of them are still in overcrowded facilities. About above 200% is about 6% of them. 175%, well, that's a lot of them. That's 17% of them. It just goes on and on and on. So California has an overcrowding prison problem. And so the way they're going to fix this is to let people out early. And so they told you that they would only let out nonviolent. Now, Governor Brown, and I could be wrong on this, I need further research, but I believe at least Kamala Harris supported it, but I don't know that she said it, that she supported that we would have nonviolent offenses. And so what they did is they sat down after Proposition 57 passed, and they began to let people out early. And, of course, some of these people were sex offenders. Now, Governor Brown had said wouldn't be sex offenders. He just said that verbally. But it was one of those bills that you had to vote for it before you knew what was in it. And it wasn't in there. It didn't say anywhere in that bill, this will not include sex offenders. So we're taking their word for it. You're taking the word of a politician for it, okay? And everybody goes, oh, okay. Well, it turns out that sex offenders are starting to get out early, and people are going, what the heck is this? And the CDC, the Correctional Department, California Department of Corrections, is saying, hey, it didn't say sex offenses, it's just the nonviolent, and there were only 13 violent crimes. So they began to let people out early. And people like myself protested like crazy about 2017. And we raised some of your money, and we did these signatures, and we sent them off. And Governor Brown come back and said, well, we'll have to take a look at it. We didn't intend for it to be sexual offenses, but, if they're nonviolent, sex offenses, da-da-da-da-da. Then what happened is in 2018-19, a sex offender, we don't know if it was male or female, in the prison filed a lawsuit against the state of California, saying that Proposition 57 discriminated against them because they are sex offenders. They can't get out early. And you're like, really? Really? Go ahead and file. Well, they get one of these liberal judges up there, Judge Alan Sumner, out of Sacramento. And he looked at his case or her case and said, you're right. I think you're being you're being discriminated against just because you're a sex offender. And he let the guy or girl out early, and he said this needs to apply across the state of California. So at that point, Governor Brown, we all making a flap again and start to protest. And Governor Brown's on his way out the door. By the way, so's our Attorney General, who's now running for Vice President. And they're going, well, we did our best. And we did what we had to do, kind of thing. And Governor Brown said, well, as long as I'm in office, we'll follow what the appeal court says, which, of course, can take years and years and years. And if it hits the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, it won't matter anyway. Well, of course, we no longer have Governor Brown. Now we have Gavin Newsom. And so it was Gavin Newsom who wrote Proposition 20 with the idea, I believe it was Gavin Newsom, that wrote that with the idea that, no, he's opposing this. Former Governor Brown developed Proposition 57 on this. And so another group, I'm going to find the name of the group here at break, wrote Proposition 20 to be able to correct Proposition 57 and include some of the nonviolent crimes. And so from my standpoint, Proposition 90, I got these numbers all crazy. Proposition 20 doesn't go far enough, but it's a start in the right direction. What they're doing is going in and redefining what is a violent criminal act under the Penal Code, so that we can start to get some of these crimes in it. They have added 51 what they consider to be violent crimes in Proposition 20. They now are redefining what is a violent crime, because prior to that, there were only 13. And so they are going to add them. And in the next section, I'm going to define them. It took me about 3 to 4 hours to find what the 51 are that they're adding. But this is why you'll see that I am for this bill, because we have to add in crimes which we all assume to be nonviolent or violent, and we need to define them so that the people who commit these crimes stay in prison and pay the price. And that is a yes on Proposition 20. It says rape is a violent crime. Imagine that. We're up against a break. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We are talking about Proposition 20. And this is hard to talk about on the radio because this is a very complex subject. But basically what happened is when you voted for Proposition 57, or your relatives did, somebody did because it passed. Anyway, what happened is it said that people who committed nonviolent offenses could get out early. And so it all sounded really good. But what we found out after the fact is that there are only 13 violent offenses considered by the California Penal Code. And there are many offenses which we assumed would be considered violent that are not legally defined as violent offenses. Proposition 20 is designed to now bring them in and define them as a violent offense. What are some of these offenses? Try murder. Now, who would ever think that murder might not be considered nonviolent? But it wasn't in prior to this. Try rape in here. Rape of a minor, rape of a child was not violent, considered violent. Sodomy or oral copulation or lewd or lascivious acts was not considered violent. This new bill will make it a violent crime. Any felony punishable by death is considered now, if Proposition 20 passes, to be a violent crime. Arson, sexual penetration, attempted murder, kidnapping, assault with an intent to commit a specific felony, continuous sexual abuse of a child, carjacking, rape, spousal rape, sexual penetration, extortion, threats to victims or witnesses, and on and on and on. So what Proposition 20 does is it makes all of those crimes now defined as nonviolent will be classified under the California Penal Code as being violent. Therefore, when they come up for parole, there will be a lot more additional considerations. Now, who is for this? I'll tell you one of them. One of the groups is most of your law enforcement groups, including the California police chiefs, the Association of California District Attorneys Association, the California Grocers Association, as well as Crime Victims United of California. That is some of the people that are for it. I want to kind of take this along the way here. I'm looking for a piece of paper. Bear with me because I have a lot here. But the reason I wanted to do this is because I want you to see who is supporting this. In supporting it, Proposition 20, Devin Nunes, Republican, a Democrat, Jim Cooper, Republican Vince Fong, the Republican Party of California, the Orange County Board of Supervisors, Association for the Law Enforcement Deputy Sheriffs, Los Angeles Police Protective League, Peace Officers Research Association, and Albertsons and Safeway. One of the reasons the grocery stores are for it, by the way, is it changes the crime of stealing, and I'll get to that before we're through. But I want to stay on this because it will make sex trafficking crime a violent crime, and that is the world that I live in. I see the victims, and I think to myself, you are letting these sex offenders out early. If Proposition 20 doesn't pass, it is theoretical. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but it is possible that up to 20,000 sex offenders could get out early. When I think about that, I say to myself, what about the people who testified against them? You know, what about them and their families and their kids? And, you know, I think about law enforcement and what it took to go out and put their lives on the line to get these guys and be able to bring them in, apprehend them, and all the district attorneys and prosecutors and the hours of the judges that it took of your public money to get them behind bars. And for your public servants to trick you and to say to you, oh, well, we're going to let nonviolent out early without telling you what nonviolent was, I think is one of the greatest scams of all time. When Governor Brown and the chief legal people of California promote this thing as saying, well, we're going to let only the nonviolent ones out, and not tell you that this is a trick, that there was really only 13 violent crimes, and that sex with a child or assault and battery of a police officer is considered nonviolent, I think that is really a terrible sense of betrayal on behalf of the public servants. Who is against Proposition 20? No surprise, former Governor Brown, California Democrat Party. Try some unions, the California Federation of Teachers. Apparently they don't mind if sex offenders are out early. ACLU, California League of Partnership to End Domestic Violence. And then we get into the Chan Zuckerberg advocacy. And when I started researching this and I found out who's supporting a no on Proposition 20, there is almost $7 million going out to get you to vote no on Proposition 20. There's only about 4.8 to get you to vote yes. And when I started going through who gave what, we found that Chan Zuckerberg, as in Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, donated more than $2.2 million. These are the same people who are shutting off social media in the name of they're deciding whether or not it should be posted. I personally have been shut off twice now for what it's worth. And they are the ones who are going through your posts saying, you can post this, but you can't post that. They put all this money towards a proposition to stop it from going through, to stop a violent crime from being labeled violent, to get you to vote no on Proposition 20. And all the time they're doing that, they're controlling what the public can post on their own business. This is an interesting time. Let me share with you, I think I still have time, about a case down in Orange County. This wasn't very long ago. Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer stated Saturday that he is outraged after the state ordered release of 7 high-risk sex offenders from the county jails over concern that they could get coronavirus. Do you know, last week they released another 8,000 out of our prisons, and the week before it was 17,000 that they're releasing in the name of Corona without ever even seeing if it meets Proposition 57 standards, and in anticipation that Proposition 20 might not pass. DA Todd Spitzer said, we've all been told that during the pandemic, we need to release people early, with less than 30 days on their sentence and things because of their underlying health pandemic. That it is in fact that we need to exercise social distancing. But in the United States, there's a social justice agenda to end bail for those that are incarcerated, and that has gone on far too long. In other words, in Orange County, our jails are only at 45% in terms of their capacity. There's no overcrowding. According to this, what happened is that 7 high-risk sex offenders, the most dangerous kind of criminal and most likely to reoffend, they are doing everything they can to avoid detection by the parole officers assigned to monitor them so they can commit additional sex acts. As they were releasing these 7 people that were sex offenders, a judge, keep in mind, this is all up to the decision of judges, many who are liberal. the same as the judge Alan Sumner up in Sacramento. These offenders ranged from ages 27 to 52. Every single one had a history of lewd offenses and have violated the law on multiple occasions. This is in Orange County, and this is from the district attorney, who is uptight, folks, as he should be, and I'm proud of him. One of the offenders released from jail early has since been charged with exposing himself at the parole center, okay? And so on it goes. This is why we need Proposition 20. We have to get, at least at a minimum, sex trafficking classified as a violent offense. With only 13 crimes identified as a violent offense, Proposition 20 is set to fix that law and add a lot more. Is it a cure-all? Would I like more in there? Yes. But it's a start in the right direction, and that's why I'm voting for it. This is Opal Singleton. I'll be right back.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology, coming to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer. Hey, I want to tell you about one of my heroes, Doris Anderson. She's a realtor over at Remax Realty in Upland. Her phone number, 951-733-8899. Doris has pledged $500 from every house she closes. There's a woman who supports an important cause.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. I am the president and CEO of Million Kids, and we are fighting the good fight against sex trafficking, social media exploitation, child pornography, and sextortion. That is blackmail with a photo. So we spend our days sitting with parents and kids and educating people so that they don't get their kids caught up in especially social media exploitation. That is the one we are just seeing an enormous explosion of. In fact, I saw an article this week from NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, that said that social media exploitation of our kids is up 93% this year. And I say to myself, no wonder I'm half crazy. You know, the calls come through here and you can't return them fast enough. And you're sitting with the parent. I think parents, there's nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse than have your kid missing and thinking they're being out there being violated and whatever. Well, that is the normal work that we do. But since it's an election time, I wanted to share with you about the importance of Proposition 20, especially in the fight against sex trafficking. You know, you may not follow us regularly, you may not know our business, but sex trafficking is the fastest growing crime in America, and California is the number one state. Twice as many cases out here. I'm not really sure why. Our kids maybe are a little more provocative or whatever, but It usually starts because a kid meets somebody on a dating site, and the next thing you know, they're off meeting up with them or, having sex. And the next thing you know, they're being put into sex sites and doing amateur pornography and being put out for forced sex. And that is our normal work. So when I discovered that Proposition 57 did not include sex crimes, sex with a minor, it didn't include trafficking, it didn't include a lot of those things. I could not believe my eyes back in 2017 or so when we fought this fight. And so when I saw Proposition 20, it's not everything I want. It isn't. But, it's a step in the right direction. And it is posed by Governor Newsom, and it is opposed by many Democrats. And there are many Democrats who support the work of me and kids. And I do not want to become a political organization in any way, shape, or form. My heart and soul is to keep kids safe from predators. But I do want to tell you about this one proposition because I believe it's important. It is important that when you have sex with a minor, that be considered violent. That if you have sex with a dead person, that be considered violent, okay? That if you have rape or sodomy or any of those kinds of crimes, that ought to be considered violent. And so it's a simple way to redefine a lot of these crimes. Proposition 20, I was talking to my producer at break. It also has a thing in there about redefining what theft is. And if you really want to get into it, you may want to really sit down and explore Proposition 20, especially with theft crimes. I'm more interested in the sex crimes because of the work I do. But basically what happened, a yes vote on Proposition 20 cites the California Department of Justice statistics since Proposition 57 passed, there has been a 30% increase in thefts. And so I want you to realize why that is. Because what happened it was actually Proposition 47 that made the threshold for a theft to be $950. So they're showing that there's been 30% more arrests since they've done that. Now, I'm going to tell you that there's probably been 130% more thefts because I know people in the retail business, and they say that these guys know immediately that they can steal anything up to $950, and they can do it over and over and over, and they will not be charged because it's not considered a violent crime. So they blatantly go into retail stores and steal a pair of $250 Nikes, and they don't think anything of it because they know that nobody is going to take them off to jail. Well, Proposition 20 also lowers that threshold from $950 to $250, and they make it aggregated. In other words, if you've been picked up before, and so now, many of our retailers will be willing to start to press charges more. For every one they steal from a store means you're going to pay more because they're not willing to follow the rules. And so theft crimes have gone up absolutely enormously since this has happened. So the people who oppose Proposition 20 are the ACLU, and I question that. I think for me, we must come in and we must define what is a violent crime. Is it a perfect law? No. I may be on the air with you in another year as we're getting ready to do another election and saying, okay, let's try to beef this up. Now, the opponents are saying it's going to cost the state a fortune because it's not going to let people out of prison early, and we are going to have to feed and house them. Well, I can see that if they've actually rehabilitated. But if you're leaving this to a judge and you're saying that sex offenders can get out early, and especially when it was sex with a child, sex with a minor, sex trafficking, assault in a domestic violence situation, sex with a dead person, assault and battery on a police officer, how can anybody sleep at night and not say those are violent crimes? Those are violent crimes. And for our law enforcement to go out and arrest these people and our district attorneys to make the case and get them in there and classify them as sex offenders and then say they can get out early because they might catch COVID is insane. So my vote for Proposition 20 is a yes. It's one of the few that I believe is extremely critical to the future of our society and the safety of our women and children and the safety of our children. We must define violent as violent. And if we do not have the fortitude to say that sex with a minor is a violent crime, then I'm afraid we've gone somewhere in our society for which there is no return. So I am sharing that with you. I really want you to take the time to sit down, the two of you or the one of you, whoever you are in your family, if you're a voting adult, and look at Proposition 20 carefully. Look who's supporting it financially and all the money they're throwing at it. And all the time they're telling you that they care about you. I cannot understand how you can put $2 million towards passing a law that says that sex with a minor is not a violent crime. I do not understand that. But in the meantime, I'm one person. I happen to be a person with a microphone. So if you're with me, you're apparently interested in this subject. I want to say thank you at this time. I will share with you privately. I got married last weekend, and many people on the way to the wedding told me they listened to me on the way to the wedding. I almost said last week, if you're listening to this show, you're not on the way to my wedding. It was a fairly small affair because of COVID, and it went off safely, and I'm very, very grateful. I've been doing this work 12 years, and this time of COVID has been the hardest time of our lives. We are known for going out and making speeches, sometimes for 200, 300, 400, 500 people at a time, training corporations, training in schools, training kids, training teachers, training code enforcement, training law enforcement. We are known for that, and we can't do that right now except by Zoom, and I'm about to Zoom my heart out, quite frankly. I am ready to give somebody a hug and to go out to dinner. By the way, if you get a chance to go out to dinner, go out to the Toasted Barrel. The Toasted Barrel is amazing, folks, down there in Corona. Look them up. They are in COVID time right now, but that's Ed and Sherry. I sometimes call her Shirley, but it's Ed and Sherry. If you go down there, tell them I sent you. And I also want to say thank you to Custom Cleaning Systems. They are our new sponsor. And if you're a corporation that's looking for corporate cleaning, I hope you'll keep them in mind. They are on our website. By the way, go to millionkids.org if you want to sign up and receive information from us, especially information about missing and runaway kids or about any of the new apps. If you're a Facebook person, I'm usually on Facebook, except for when they shut me off, which has been twice lately because they didn't like what I said, apparently. But anyway, you just go to Million Kids and go to Facebook and find Million Kids and hit like. Folks, I'd ask you to vote this week and sit down and talk to your kids about what's true and what's real and the need to educate yourself and get informed and have that privilege of voting in America. Put your arms around your family this week. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're proud of them. And I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.